I don't know who needs to hear this, but not every item in your home has to be one of a kind or collected from your crazy travels around the world. However, you do deserve to have a home that you love and that reflects the uniqueness of who you are. So let's take your basic, nondescript showroom of a home and turn it into a thoughtfully curated home that reflects the things that you love. Because, girl, everybody deserves that. Now, this video isn't going to help you find your design style. Actually, this video is going to help you create a home that doesn't fit under any one style, because your home should reflect the uniqueness of you and your story and the things you love in a way that a formal design style never could. We'll do this in a few steps. I'll define what a curated home means and some general design guidelines to follow. We'll talk about where the heck to even start, what to focus your energy on, some general rules on shopping secondhand and my favorite online options, and how to rethink things that you already own. So what the heck even is a curated home? According to AI on Google, a curated home is one that is thoughtfully designed and organized to reflect the owner's personality and style. And it's about how the owner feels when they walk through the door. Basically, it's the exact opposite of having a home that looks like an HGTV ad or something that came out of a Magnolia magazine. Here in the US, I feel like we live in a world that so emphasizes being cookie cutter and falling under a design style or seeking a style that looks more luxurious or expensive, rather than emphasizing individuality and personality in our homes. The number one thing to note is, for a curated home, you should buy things you love. These should be things that have meaning to you, and that should take precedence over just caring about the aesthetics of the piece. Secondly, curation should always take intentionality. I don't care if you have a blank space on your wall. I would rather you keep it blank until you find a piece that you really want to have there, rather than filling it with a mass-produced piece of artwork. Don't buy it just because it's cute or just because it's a good deal. Be intentional about the things that you are bringing into your home. However, I want to stress this should not be decision fatigue inducing, okay? You don't have to curate your trash can. You don't have to feel like every lamp in your home has to be vintage or have this crazy story behind it. But be intentional about the things you're placing in your space, rather than filling your home with these mass-produced items that you look at every day but don't actually love. And lastly, curation takes time. You will be curating your home until you die, okay? You'll be curating it for the rest of your life. So take it one piece at a time. Don't curate your whole house over the weekend. One piece at a time, and focus on things you really enjoy. Be intentional, and we're off to a good start. All right, some general guidelines for a well-designed space, which will just set the stage for helping you create a well-curated home. Firstly, I want you to have a wide variety of styles in your home. Mixed styles. If I can walk into your space and I'm like, whoa, this girl likes modern farmhouse, then your home is not feeling very well curated. I should not be able to define your style in one or two words. You don't have to be a super eclectic person, but you should have a mix of styles. And naturally, if you're including items that you love or personalized items, they're not necessarily going to fit under one style. So mixed design styles, or better yet, don't worry too much about trying to fit under a certain design style, or it can end up feeling a little bit like a theme. Secondly, I want you to source from lots of different places. Don't just go to Target or IKEA and buy mass-produced products for your whole home. You can definitely be intentional about curating items from stores and big box stores, but source from all over the place. It can include Target and IKEA, but also think about shopping local, shopping on Etsy, vintage shopping, thrift shopping. Just even if it's all bought brand new, shop from a large variety of sources to help you create a home that feels curated and it doesn't just feel like I walked into Target. Thirdly, be intentional about mixing new and old items. And I'm not talking about faux vintage. I don't want any faux distressed vintage items. I'm talking real authentic vintage items, family pieces. Go out and buy new pieces from stores that you really love, but mix old and new, because it's really hard to have a home that feels well curated and personalized when all of your items were just bought brand new off the shelf. And my last design guideline is mix materials. In each space in your home, you should have wood. Mix wood tones throughout your space. Wood is really important for warmth in your home. You should have fabric, different fabrics, different textures of fabrics, patterns, colors. Ask yourself some sort of natural material like a jute or a basket. Do I have something reflective like a mirror or metals, different mixed metals in my space? Do I have something shiny? Maybe it's a shiny ceramic, maybe it's something glass. Mix all of these materials together to have a naturally more curated space, even if those individual items aren't intentionally curated. So, where the heck to even start? Firstly, I want you to be realistic with your personality, your time constraints, your budget, all of those things. So have in your head a picture of who you are and what's realistic for you, and then filter these tips accordingly. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to identify the non-negotiables in your space. Those are the things that you have to keep in this specific space that you're looking at. And you can't change certain things. Maybe it's a couch and you don't have the budget to reupholster it or change it, family heirloom that you want to stay in that spot. Whatever those non-negotiables are for you that will be there, start with that and then build from there. Because believe it or not, it's actually a lot harder to curate a space or design a space when you have a blank canvas. It's a lot easier to do it when you set your non-negotiables, and so you have a framework and some obstacles to work around. And it actually makes those decisions going forward easier. So now that we've identified our non-negotiable items that are staying in our space, I want you to look around at everything else and identify what items you are open to either swapping or more intentionally choosing a more unique item for that space. Look at everything: furniture, rugs, wall art, decor. Ask yourself, do I have some maybe more generic items in my home that I can be more intentional about finding a replacement item for? Some super common examples of items that I see in people's home that scream, I'm not curated. Number one, the wooden beads. The wooden beads that everyone has on their coffee table or their wall shelves, or those wooden and marble links. Those automatically scream, I'm not curated. Another thing is mass-produced art. If you have a large mass-produced print from IKEA, even some from Target, if you have a sign that says blessed or live, laugh, love, any of those mass-produced pieces of artwork scream, I am not a curated home. So those are the pieces that I want you to think about in your space. I'm also thinking of grungy throw pillows. Those throw pillows that come with your couch that are either grungy or match your couch. I'm thinking of trendy items like those like cloud mirrors or those like marble faux print rugs, really cheap particle board coffee tables. These are all items that are cheap and mass produced, and they're easy to buy, but they also scream, I'm not curated. And you can even buy other items new for cheap that at least have a slightly more unique touch. So we've started by looking at our space, taking stock of what we already have. Now, what do we focus on going forward? Because we already said that we're not going to focus on curating every single piece in our home. Instead, I want you to focus on just a few key pieces, both a larger piece and some accents in each room, and everything else can just take a backseat to the design. So here's what we're going to do. Firstly, I want you to pick one large statement piece in each room to be your focal piece that you are going to curate. This could be a more central or larger piece of furniture in the room. This could be a really focal, large scale piece of art, a rug, but something that's large enough that it's going to have a large visual impact when you walk into your space. And that is what you are going to curate for that room. And having a large visual presence doesn't just have to be in size. It can be a large size piece, but it can also come through by having a bold color or a bold pattern, but something that really catches your eye right when you walk in the room. For example, in your living room, your large statement piece that you're going to curate, it could be your couch. You could have a cool fabric on it or curate something you really love. It could be your coffee table, since it's really central oftentimes in a living room. Or it could be something like your rug or a piece of artwork on the wall, but you are only going to pick one item in each room that's a large focal piece to curate. And don't come at me if you have decision fatigue because you chose to pick more than one item, all right? Just one item per space. Number 2, we're going to pick 2 to 3 smaller accessories to thoughtfully curate in that space as well. Everything else can take a back seat to the design. These accessories can be absolutely anything, but I want them to take center stage in your design, okay? We're only picking 2 to 3, so I want them to shine. You can put them on your mantle, you can put them in the center of your room on the coffee table, you can have them being more minimal up on a shelf by themselves, but make sure that there's not too much going on around them so that when someone walks into your space, they see those items. All right, I'm going to use my home as a probably very, very poor example. But let's go. Number 1, my hair desperately needs to be washed, but we're not going to talk about that. And number 2, this right here is my one and only large curated focal piece in this room. I only have one. It's this large Chinese marriage cabinet. I found it at an antique online store near me. I love it more than almost anything in this world. When I die, I will be buried in this. And if we ever have a fire, you will get security footage of me carrying this by myself on my back down 4 flights of stairs. Secondly, this is my only piece of artwork in this room. I bought this from an artist when my husband and I lived in Cambodia recently. And we just bought the print and then we mounted it on this DIY frame made out of a canvas from a painter's tarp from Home Depot. But I think it looks good. And I love it not because anyone else likes it, but because I've never seen it anywhere else and it reminds me of places we've been and places we love. Lastly, I am huge on buying accessories and things that you love, and it's not just about aesthetics. These are 2 coffee table books that actually my sister owns and thrifted, and I genuinely love just sitting and flipping through the photos. They're absolutely gorgeous, really interesting topics. And these are things that they're beautiful. I love to display them and read them, but it's so much more interesting to me than having a coffee table book on a topic that's literally just for the aesthetic purpose of sitting on my coffee table. So try and find coffee table books that you're actually interested in and you actually enjoy what's in front of you. Even if nothing else in this space but those items were intentionally curated, this space would still feel really personal to me because those items I have specifically put in the forefront of this room's design. So with just those 2 to 3 choices, I was able to curate a space that feels really intentional and personal to me, but I didn't have to make a decision on every item in the room. In your bedroom, maybe you have more basic furniture like your bed and your side tables, but you could make or buy a really cool piece of artwork to go over your bed, or maybe find a really cool quilt or throw blanket to go at the foot of your bed. Now, speaking of picking your 2 to 3 accessories for each room, I'm going to go through a list of super common accessories that you can find at almost any thrift or vintage store. If you just go to 1 or 2 thrift stores, you should be able to find the majority or a lot of these items. So if you are someone who goes to a thrift store or an antique store and you don't know what accessories to even look for, take this list with you and see if you can find a few things on this list that you want for your space. For spaces like maybe your coffee table or shelf styling, look for things like vintage books. If you can find large vintage coffee table books, those are great. But remember, we're not just thinking about the aesthetics here. So try and actually find books or coffee table books that you are genuinely interested in the topic. Look for things like records. I love looking for vintage matchbooks for your candles, vintage cards, vases and ceramics, wooden bowls, cool boxes, like boxes to put your remotes and other things in, are all great accessories to look for. Another thing you can often find are like really cool chairs, like vintage chairs or even just like a wooden stool. Make a little vignette out of that in your space. Put a little cool picture over a chair or a stool. That's something that you can find at almost any antique store. For your kitchen, so many antique stores have really cool salt and pepper shakers, oil and vinegar decanters, cool glassware. Vintage artwork and frames are incredible. That might be harder to find at some thrift stores, but definitely at antique stores you can find amazing art, or at a lot of thrift stores you can just find amazing frames if you want to put your own artwork inside. Look for antique mirrors, cool like throw blankets and quilts. There are so many cool lamps out there, little lamps, tall floor lamps. There are tons of options at almost every thrift store. I love collecting really cool like candlestick holders or vintage ashtrays. And remember, curated accessories do not have to come from thrift or antique stores. If you are someone who likes to shop new, or that's just easier for you, then shop new, but try to find items that feel more unique and not like something that you see everywhere else. Again, it's helpful if you can shop on places like Etsy or just on other online stores that aren't as extremely mass produced. And it just makes it easier on you. You don't have to question as much if this is a unique item or not, because it probably is a lot more unique than if you just bought it from Target. But even Amazon, like Amazon, if you're okay shopping through them, they have lots of cool items. I find this really cool candle that I love through them. At Home Goods the other day, I bought these towels that technically are mass produced, but I've never seen them before and I absolutely love them. So just be intentional about what you're buying, whether it's secondhand or new, and try and make it be something that you haven't seen before and is a little more unique. So we have picked one focal piece that we're going to curate. We've picked 2 to 3 accessories for that space. Lastly, this is just a bonus. Stop there if you're good. But a bonus thing you can do is, I think every space should have at least one piece of well-curated artwork. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can thrift it, you can make it, but one piece of curated artwork. Now hear me out. You can thrift it. You can buy prints on Etsy that are incredibly affordable and get them printed at your local print shop. You can make it. Now, I know a lot of you may not feel like you can make art, but trust me, there are so many ways you can DIY it. If you're really afraid of DIY art, do one color. Find a really cool color. Maybe I can do a paint video at some point. Go pick a really cool paint swatch or use paints you already have. Paint over a current piece of art that you already have that's mass produced. One color, just a plain color. Paint it, put it in a frame, bam. You have some easy art. If you have old clothing or you find cool fabric, put cool fabric in a frame. It doesn't have to be like painted artwork. It can just be fabric. It can be wallpaper, textiles, family photos. Family photos are one of the most personal things that you have. Put those in a frame and put them on the wall. It can be photos from your travels. If you don't feel like you have any good photography from your travels, then go online and find some photography of places you've actually been that you care about and frame those. If you have letters that people have given you, like handwritten letters that mean a lot to you, put those in a frame. There's so many beautiful ways that people have done this that look really gorgeous and curated. You can rip photos out of magazines. A lot of cool art posters have lots of cool art on them. But also don't be afraid to hang non-artwork on your walls. I've seen people hang bells, like rows of bells on the wall, family heirlooms, wall hooks. There are so many cool wall hooks that, yes, you can use to hang things on, but you can also just put like 3D wall hooks on your wall and create a cool little art installation. So really try and think outside of the box of anything you have in your home that you can put on the wall, and it will create a really unique to you curated moment. All right, a couple quick thrifting tips if you like to shop secondhand. Number one, just because you thrifted it doesn't make it good, okay? One more time for the people in the back. Just because you thrifted it doesn't make it good. Maybe there was a reason it was donated. Don't thrift something that maybe someone donated, but you could just buy this at Home Goods. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's a good deal. Okay, just because you can get it for a good price at Goodwill doesn't mean it's actually a good deal, because again, maybe there's a reason it's so cheap. Next, try and rethink the way that you can use items when you're thrifting. Don't go in super narrow-minded for what you're going to try and find, because you never know what you're going to find in a thrift store. So try to be open-minded. When you see items, try and rethink how you can use them. Maybe it's some sort of a pot or something you use in the kitchen, but you can reuse it and put a plant in it, or a stand for a plant. I flipped it upside down and I used it to display a book. So try and be creative with how you can use items. Always pull items off the shelf in a thrift store. Almost any item is going to look like trash when it's shoved onto a shelf with a million other items, a lot of which probably are trash. So if an item catches your eye, pull it off the shelf, put it on the floor, stand back and look at it, whatever you need to do to help you rethink how you might be able to repurpose that item. So you want to thrift, but you're either lazy, you don't have enough time, or realistically, you're just not going to be able to go to thrift stores 5 days a week. I have some great online thrift store options for you. My number one favorite, which maybe you know about this, but I feel like it's not talked about, is Goodwill. Goodwill has a massive online store. I don't know about other countries, but I know in the US you can shop from anywhere in the country from Goodwill. It's kind of like an auction, like eBay type system. You go on, scan through their different sections, and you can place bids on items. You may be able to buy outright, I'm not sure. But Goodwill online has so many incredible options that you would have a really hard time ever finding in your local store, and they will ship those items directly to you. Secondly, we all know and love Facebook Marketplace, and depending on where you live in the country or in the world, Facebook Marketplace may not be something that you have access to or you don't have great options for. But if you do have access to it, don't forget you can go onto Facebook Marketplace and adjust your settings so that you only get searches for items that are able to be shipped to your home. So you can shop online and it can be shipped to you. You don't have to go pick up items in person. Next up is auction houses. I have found some of my favorite pieces at auction houses. You can look at the items online, you can bid for them online. When you are searching for auctions near you, do be aware of whether or not they ship those items to you. A lot of them you can pay like a delivery fee or a shipping fee and they'll send it to you, but that's not the case for all auctions. So do be aware of that. But auctions are incredible, and especially after COVID, a lot of them went online. So find an auction near you. And lastly, this is really different depending on where you live in the country or the world, but just go online and Google like flea markets near me. They have tons of online flea markets and other places very similar to eBay where people buy and sell thrifted, vintage, and just cool collected works and collected artwork. So Google what's near you, specifically what you can get access to online, because there are so many amazing thrift store options that are online, right at your fingertips, and they ship directly to your front door. Now for some low effort, high impact ways that you can repurpose pieces that you already own in your home for little to no money. My first tip is you need to minimize the amount of decor and items in your space so that the items that you have carefully curated stand out. If your curated items and accessories are sitting on a shelf with a bunch of other items, it's not going to feel curated because it's just going to feel messy and no one is going to walk into that space and see it. But if you have well curated just one item, say just one vase or one book, and it's sitting on a shelf by itself or with 2 or 3 other items, when someone walks into that space, they're not going to say, oh, I wonder why that shelf looks so empty. They're going to say, wow, that's such a sick book or such a cool vase. Where did you get that from? So try and minimize your decor so that those curated pieces take center stage. I also want you to pull some of your favorite curated pieces into one space. Again, curating a home takes months, years, a lifetime. And so as you're building that up, think about the spaces that you spend the most time in during your day and focus on curating those spaces first and pulling all of those items that you love and have curated into those spaces, even if it's not their forever placement. If you're wanting to update your couch, for example, if this is not something you can curate, you can't reupholster it, you want a quick fix with little to no money, I want you to get rid of your matching throw pillows, specifically if they're grungy, and recover them with new, really carefully curated, interesting pillow covers. You can find these on Etsy and really cool vintage fabrics. You can thrift fabrics and do it yourself. Pillow covers are a super easy thing to do, but recover those couch pillows in some really cool throw pillows that you really love to help distract from the couch that maybe you don't love as much. Another thing you can do is find a cool quilt or a throw blanket. If you have a really busy, colorful couch, go for a more like neutral toned throw blanket. Or if you have a more neutral couch, go for a throw blanket that's fun, has a cool vintage pattern on it or a color that you really love or a more dramatic texture. Another thing you can think about is your lamps. A lot of lamps are really dated and not in a cute vintage way. So think about updating your lampshades. I found a really cool green metal one at a thrift store the other day. I love fabric ones, but find a beautiful lampshade that you really love. There's ones that are fabric, patterns, all sorts of gorgeous lampshades out there. I would steer away from glass ones or any that you can see through. Preferably, you should not see the actual bulb. So do think about that, but switch up your lampshades and get something that you really enjoy if you can't afford or don't want to actually buy a whole new lamp. Artwork, we talked about it. So many easy ways to DIY it or update it with new vintage frames. You can also just pull artwork from around your home that you actually love. Take down that mass-produced artwork, find artwork you love, or again, frame items, letters, different things around your home. Make a gallery wall. I still love gallery walls. Maybe don't have more than one or maybe 2 in a space, but make a beautiful gallery wall or take down your mass-produced art and just put up 1 or 2 art pieces you really love. That will go a long ways to curating your space. For your coffee table styling, a really simple formula to make it feel more curated. I want you to clear off your coffee table. I want you to find one large item for your base. That could be a large tray that you have. It could be a large like flat weave basket, a coffee table book. It could even be something like we have a broken like chunk of marble that someone was giving away or throwing away. Something like that. Put it on your coffee table as a base. Next, I want you to find one curated accessory, a cool box from a jewelry box or something from your grandmother, or a candlestick holder, whatever it is, a cool trinket or accessory, put it on top of that coffee table or that base. Next, if you want bonus points, I want you to get 2 items. I want you to get a candle that you like the scent of. The larger the candle, the better. And I want you to get a vase that you already have. Okay, find a vase, any vase, put it on your coffee table. If you have flowers, great. If not, just cut a tree branch, cut some bushes outside, cut something from your neighbor's yard if they're okay with that. Put some greenery in that vase. Bam, you have a curated coffee table. For your bedroom, if you can't update your bedding, your bedspread, your bed frame, I want you to just find one really cool quilt or a really cool throw blanket that you can put at the base of your bed. Hopefully it's thick, chunky, luxurious. You can thrift it, find it online. It will be a low effort, high impact item for your space. Now, this one is not as low effort, but I had to throw it in there since we're talking about curated spaces, and that is paint your ceiling. This won't work in every space, but so many spaces have white walls or just any color walls, and then they paint the ceiling white. But paint your ceiling a fun color, a bold color. You can even pull it down a few inches onto the wall. Instantly, people will walk into your space and be like, girl, what is she doing in here? She knows something I don't know, because it's going to feel unique and have a very high impact in your space. Some final bonus tips. Steer away from trends. We will all have trends that we love that will be lasting for us, but when in doubt, trends will come and go and they will not end in a home that you love long term. Don't be afraid to use pops of color and pattern in your space. We live in a world, especially here in the US, that is really shying away from a lot of color and a lot of pattern, but with that goes a lot of individuality as well. So don't be afraid to include color and pattern in your space. And lastly, steer away from matching sets. A well-curated home never has matching sets of furniture. Yes, of course, you can have like matching side tables and things like that, or a matching set of chairs in your living room, but try and steer away from having whole sets of matching furniture in your space, or all of your throw pillows matching all of your wood tones to each other. Don't worry about it so much and just grab the pieces that you naturally really love, and I promise they will work together. And as a final note, your home is perfect just the way it is, I promise. Interior design culture can be so toxic, and it tells you that it's all about aesthetics or it's all about the price tag and how expensive an item is. You are too cool to not have a home that you love and that you feel like represents you and who you are. And it does not happen overnight or even over a weekend like we often see on YouTube makeovers. So have fun curating your home. Let me know in the comments if you have any further questions or things I didn't touch on.